Hi everyone, I'm Dave with Smarter Appliance, and I have Dr. Bassler here from Casey Chiropractic, and he's going to talk about 5 proven ways to relieve back pain. So, Dr. Bassler, great to have you here.
Thank you, Dave. Appreciate
And
it.
take it away. It's yours.
Awesome. Thank you. Well, thanks for having me, Dave. I appreciate it. But yeah, 5 proven ways to prevent back pain. It's actually a major issue in society today. According to studies, the most number one reason for workers' comp injuries keeping people from working is low back pain. It's $1 billion industry, and it's keeping people from actually working and being productive in society. So we need to get rid of it not only for workers' reasons, but also because it impacts our everyday life, right? And so, number one way to prevent low back pain is chiropractic adjustments. So, what happens is your body works through your spine, and your spine has 3 major functions. And the first one's structure. Your body has certain curves in the spine to be able to handle pressure and issues. Even standing here, right, I'm under gravity pressure. It's bringing me down to earth. And a straight structure is going to break, but one with curves is able to handle that type of pressure. So your body has these certain curves through the spine. I'm going to lift this spine up for everyone. But you can see your low back has a curve almost like a C. And what happens is when we lose that curve, it goes more straight or it goes further back. And by doing so, it puts more pressure on the spine. And what that does is it puts pressure on things like the soft tissue. And here you can see these muscles in the front. And there's a muscle that attaches to the front of every bone in our low back, these light blue bones. And what that does is it puts extra pressure there and stress. So that causes this deep discomfort and low back pain, but it can also impact other ways too. As you can see, this muscle goes down to the inside of our leg. So that's going to impact how we walk and change our gait, which is going to impact, again, the rest of the muscles in our back. If this muscle is really tight too, because these bones have lost their perfect curvature, their structure, it means other muscles now have to take over and compensate for that weakened muscle, which is going to cause imbalance and increase low back pain. So not only the structure of our spine, but another purpose of our spine is movement, how we're able to move. If we lose that curvature in our spine, we're going to lose our normal function, our normal movement. We're going to have to compensate again in certain ways. So think of this muscle. If it's out of alignment, because these bones are, we're not going to be able to walk properly. So we're going to change and compensate. And because of this, we're going to lose our natural ability, natural homeostasis, and it's going to put extra pressure on the parts of our low back, which is going to increase our pain. So we're losing our structure, we're losing our natural movement, the way we should be bending forward and backward. And then lastly, and this is most important, it's part of our nervous system. Our nervous system controls every function of our body. You know, how we're able to digest food or breathe without thinking about it consciously, right? These are things that our body does naturally without us reacting because of our nervous system. And so what happens is, at every level between the bones in our spine, these nerves exit. And the signals they send out go to the organs. Again, how we're able to digest food, how we're able to walk. Even those signals are reactions sending from our brain going to our muscles to react, calm down, act. But when we lose that curvature in our spine, what it does, it puts pressure on that soft tissue. And so it doesn't allow those signals to be sent properly. So oftentimes, not only with low back pain, but it can cause things like GI issues like Crohn's, irritable bowel syndrome, which in turn in themselves, a byproduct can also be low back pain. So by allowing that normal curvature in our spine, it takes that pressure off those nerves. So it allows for proper nervous system function. And so in doing so, it allows your body to send the right signals to the places it needs to go. So not only for helping issues like GI things, but pain is a symptom. Pain is a reaction of the nervous system. So if you're able to allow your body to send the proper signals, it'll allow it to send the proper healing signals in terms of recovery, in terms of action. So you're less likely to experience pain as a result of the nervous system. So overall, the most important thing in way of preventing low back pain is through chiropractic adjustments. And I'm going to put that up there. And the way to know what needs to be adjusted is through a proper evaluation, through x-rays, neurological exam, orthopedic exams. That's where you can diagnose the problem, what's going on in the low back, and have that adjusted and corrected in order to prevent low back pain, right? So that's one way you can prevent low back pain, but there's 5 ways. So number 2 is proper workspace ergonomics, right? So in a week, anyone know how many hours there are in a week? No. There's it's a lot of math right off the bat, right? There's 168 hours in the week. So think about an average work week. What do we think of? We think of 40 hours. So basically a quarter of our time is spent at work. So with chiropractic adjustments, you're not spending your quarter of your time doing that. What you're doing is you're spending a quarter of your time doing work, either sitting, standing, being active. So if you're doing any of those improperly, what you're doing is you're basically setting yourself at a maximum of 75% improvement, right? Because you're taking away a quarter of your ability to work. So picture if you're sitting for 8 hours a day for a 40-hour work week. If you're hunched over, you're slouched back, what you're doing is you're putting extra pressure on those joints in your spine, on those muscles. And what happens is because of that, you're going to increase your likelihood of low back pain. So one, with adjustments, most important way to restore the structure. But if you're not supporting that at home with your actions, you kind of end up spinning your wheels. So there's a variety of different ways you should be focusing on how it can actually improve your back at work. So one is if you sit, it's important to have proper ergonomics when you sit. So that's both feet planted squarely on the ground, your knees bent at 90 degrees, right? And so your hips are in line with your knees at a basic 90-degree angle. That's the way your body wants you to be able to evenly distribute the pressure. The reason being, if there's misalignment throughout your spine, it's going to go all the way down here and split right here at the hips. I don't know if you can see that. So it's going to go all the way down and split at the hips evenly. But by having your hips evenly 90 degrees, it's going to send that pressure down evenly through the knees, through the feet. It's going to be proper. But if you're slouched back like that, what you're doing, it's not properly going down both hips. It's going down different angles, sending more pressure to the knees and to your feet, which is again going to impact your low back discomfort. And even if you think about it too, if you're sitting up properly, right, all the organs are working functionally. It's easy to breathe. If you slouch down like this, it might be a little harder to breathe. So it's not the way your body wants you to be. So sitting properly is important. Two, and I know I'm talking about low back discomfort and low back pain, but you want everything visually at eye level. If you're hunched over, what you're doing is you're rounding your shoulders. Think about typing at a computer for 8 hours a day. If you're hunched down like this, looking down, what you're doing is you're bringing everything forward. So you're increasing the tension in your mid-back. But that's one thing you can't really see here, but there's muscles in our body that go from the top of our head to our mid-back. And there's muscles that go from our mid-back down all the way to our low back. Our body is impressive in the fact that it's all a kinetic chain. And that's how we're able to overcome a lot of inefficiencies in our everyday life. If you sprain an ankle, you can just shift over to the left foot. If you sprain your right ankle, you shift over your left foot, right? Your body's able to compensate for that until it gets better through proper treatment, of course. But that's also a bad thing because what you're doing when you're standing on your left foot after you sprained your right ankle is you're sending all that pressure there. So if you're putting all this pressure on the bone, on the muscles and joints of your mid-back because you're hunched over, what you're doing is you're forcing your low back to have to compensate for that to keep you upright so you're not falling over, right? Same thing with your neck. If you're looking down, you're putting pressure on those muscles in the mid-back, which again is impacting your low back. So if you're spending 8 hours a day sitting improperly, hunched over looking at a screen, what you're doing is essentially spending 25% of your week hurting your back. So sitting properly, everything up, forward, shoulders back, knees 90 degrees, feet planted evenly, you're going to put yourself at a better likelihood of not experiencing back pain. That's if you're sitting. If you're standing, gentle movement side to side, back and forth. There have been recent studies that show that a sit-stand desk is the ideal. Yeah, it's great because it helps you move from sitting and standing. It's this gentle movement. Again, one of the functions of our spine is movement. But even other things too, like treadmill desks. Not common, I understand that, right? But even just at a 0.1 where you're just gently walking, it's helping create motion there. A yoga ball for where you're sitting. These are things that help create activity and movement in the spine. So if you're standing at work all day, at a standing desk, or you have a job that requires you to be planted but standing, just gentle hip movement. Not like a dance in place, but creating that motion in your spine. And it's not something our body naturally does too. After a few hours, and you start to experience discomfort, kind of want to stretch out and move. Be proactive about that. Make a conscious effort. Even just gentle knee bending is going to help create motion to those joints and keep things from stiffening up and locking up. And then lastly, if you have a job that requires a lot of heavy lifting and a lot of moving, you're going to put a lot of stress on your back. But if you're doing that improperly, what you're doing is you're going to put yourself at a guaranteed likelihood of having back pain. So if you're going to be bending, picking things down, bend to the knees, keep the back straight. If you find yourself going down like this to pick anything up, stop. Because what you do is, and this is again, if you have misalignment in your spine, which you only know through without having a chiropractic treatment, you'd be able to know. But what you do is when you bend over to pick something up, you're elongating the muscles of your back and you're opening up these disc spaces. Because you can see here, between every bone, like I said, there's nerves that go out there, those little yellow things. And between them are these white things, the discs in our back. If there's misalignment, it's going to put extra pressure, decrease the space on the disc. I'm going to talk about that again in a moment. But when you bend over to pick something up, what happens is you put pressure on the front of that disc, and if it's already under increased pressure, it needs to go somewhere. Think about a river about to explode from a dam. So it's going to shoot out the back if it's under increased pressure and you're bending down like that to pick something up. That is what we all commonly think of a disc bulge. And that puts pressure on that nerve I mentioned earlier that's sending those signals. So when you have a muscle spasm in your back from picking something up, it's literally your body sending the signal, stop, you need to protect this weakened area. So when you're working, and you're thinking about picking something up like that, don't put your body at that risk. If you're able to bend at the knees, bend straight, keep your chest up, it helps evenly distribute the pressure through the disc and throughout the rest of your body, so you're not putting yourself at that greater likelihood of back pain. Again, this is at work, 40 hours a week, maybe at minimum in some cases. That's a quarter of your week. So if you're spending this time being proactive and working with proper ergonomics, you're going to be spending a quarter of your time helping your back. But if you're spending a quarter of that time without proper ergonomics, you're hurting your back for about 25% of your week. So to prevent low back pain, proper work ergonomics. That was number 2. Number 3, I mentioned earlier, one of the main functions of our spine. We had structure, we had the nervous system function, movement, right? So activity. Think about it in this way. If you have a car that you drive every week and you have a car that you buy and leave in the driveway for a year, which one's going to have better motion and movement and engine fluid? So it needs to be moved. If you put a screw in and take it out and replace it every week or so, it's going to be a nice, good bolt, nice screw. And if you leave one out in the rain, it's going to be rusted. That one's really hard to take off. We need to replace it. It's the same thing with our body. We need motion and movement. There's a common saying, motion is the lotion, and that's very true. That's a good one. So motion is the lotion. So we need active motion and movement through our bodies. So let's say you work at a sitting desk for 8 hours a day, 40 hours a week. Again, that quarter of your time. That's not being active and moving, giving your body what it needs in motion. So what I always say is do something you enjoy. For 30 minutes or 60 minutes a day, get out and walk, go hiking, go for a run, go exercising. But why is that important? Not only for your physical health and mental health, but it's also important for your low back to give it that motion and movement it needs. So if you do go to the gym, proper lifting form. A lot of people try to push themselves to where they feel they should be when it's going to put their body under extra pressure. But again, why the spine is important with the structure, proper structure can handle that pressure and stress. Without proper structure, it's again the same thing as bending down or picking up something at work or even a pencil. It's putting pressure on those discs and those muscles, causing a likelihood of spasm, causing back pain. But if done properly, gentle walking, running with some proper stretching in advance, these help your body move and recover. And if you do suffer a trauma like a car accident, it actually puts your body at a great likelihood of recovering from that because it's stronger, more stable. So exercise and activity, these things are important. And I mentioned too, moving, running, walking. Another important factor with low back pain, as I mentioned, the structure of our spine is proper support with your foot. Orthotics are great. I recommend either going to a podiatrist, your chiropractor, because yes, it is a chiropractic issue. 12.5% of the bones in our body are in one foot, 12.5% in the other. It's 25% of the bones in our body are in our feet. It's all about alignment and structure of those joints, but with proper support of orthotics. So when you're going running, you're going jogging, make sure you have proper arch support. Like I said, a podiatrist, chiropractor, even just standing on one of those Dr. Scholl things to get a proper measurement. A basic level of that and understanding is going to help your proper support and handle this pressure. But really, it's all coming from your spine. So activity, motion, movement, lifting and exercise, these are great ways to prevent low back pain. It's helping strengthen those joints if done properly. So again, proper form. Don't push yourself too hard with the weight, I think is the best way to approach that. And yeah, that's one of the main ways you can help with your low back pain. That was number 3. So number 1, again, chiropractic adjustments. Number two, proper workspace ergonomics, again, being able to focus at the time of work and helping our back. Number three is activity, motion, movement, one of the functions of our spine. But number four, what is that? It's recovery. What are we doing after we're being active and moving around? We need a little relax and a little recovery. So doing that in the proper way is really important, and it's done through a few different things. One, I mentioned stretching before. Stretching afterwards, allowing those muscles to relax in our body. I have a foam roller here. It's a great way really just to go over the back and just help out relax some of those muscles. Because as we're active, what people often experience is something called delayed onset muscle soreness. So let's say you're exercising, you're lifting weights, or you're outside chopping a cord of wood, or you're raking the yard and using some muscles you haven't used in a while. What you're doing is you're basically using that muscle, but then when you're relaxing, your body's destroying it and rebuilding it. And you don't feel that really, but you do feel that soreness. It's called delayed onset muscle soreness. That happens anywhere from several hours to 2 days afterwards, and that's not uncommon. What is uncommon is when you wake up the next morning and you can't get out of bed. What is uncommon if it lasts for more than that time period, or if it's really severe, or causes numbness and tingling in certain parts of your body. That is a sign of, again, a chiropractic alignment issue. It can only be solved through chiropractic. But that muscle soreness, some stiffness, low-grade, mild aches, those are uncommon within, at most, 2 days after an activity where you're destroying your muscle. What's happening is your muscle's rebuilding, right? And again, why it's important to help strengthen and support the proper curvature in your spine is having strong muscles. So foam rolling helps to relax them. Another key way is diet, too. If you're putting your body through a lot of activity and work and you're not feeding it the right fuel, it's not going to function the same way. If you have a BMW and you put 87 fuel in it, it's going to kill the engine, right? I don't have a BMW, so I can say that. I have an 87 fuel car. But basically, it's the same concept. You need to be putting the right things in your body to help fuel it and function it. So if you follow a low inflammatory diet, a ketosis diet, a paleo diet, whatever works specifically for you and your body, that's what you need to be doing to help decrease inflammation, help your body recover. Stay away from artificial sweeteners, a lot of sugar, because what that does is it increases your body's natural likelihood of inflammation. And even in the word inflammation is flame. It's hot, it's uncomfortable. But inflammation is basically what you feel when you're having that intense pain beyond that delayed onset muscle soreness. People often describe it too as discomfort in their knees and their joints. That's inflammation. That's not good. And what that causes too is, sorry, I lost my thought process. So inflammation not only causes decreased likelihood of recovery, longer recovery, but also compounded with misalignment problems, subluxations in the spine, creates something else. So again, going back to how the alignment and structure of our spine is so important, a healthy spine, the bones in our spine look like this. I'll show it to the camera really quickly. There's this thing right here, which is the disc. These are the bones, healthy disc size, good looking bones, plenty of space for those nerves to exit. Everyone here outside can see it as well, right? Again, those nerves sending the signals to all of our body proper function. But when there's misalignment, our body has to compensate. So what it does is think about holding something heavy over your head. I can hold this over my head like this, right? If this weighed a couple 100 pounds or 100 pounds, it might widen my feet. So what happens is arthritic change over time. Our body starts to grow extra bone to handle that stressor and stressor. One moment. Thank you, guys. Stress and pressure. And so what happens is it puts decreased space for that disc, puts more pressure there, decreases space for the nerve, and that eventually contributes to disc bulging. When you have a higher likelihood of inflammation, it accelerates that process. So what happens is normal degeneration occurs in everyone. Proper alignment, healthy structure, your body goes at a much slower rate. You have a very healthy spine at a very old age if properly treated. But if not properly treated, compounded with a bad diet, which is slowing your natural positive recovery, it's increasing your degeneration. So again, it increases your likelihood of having that arthritic change. And what that does is, again, it puts pressure on the discs, the nerves. It even decreases your motion and movement. If you look at these two next to each other, I'll show the camera again. Which one do you think is going to be able to move better, the healthy one or the unhealthy one? Moving forward, backward, side to side? Yeah. One has a lot more motion and movement through the disc. It can go anywhere it wants. This one, it's almost like it's locked up. So why the diet is important, why proper recovery is important, because it helps your body move forward in a positive way and helps slow degeneration, and it helps increase your likelihood of having a healthy body and a healthy spine for the long run. It's all about the longevity with the recovery. And again, with activity, with motion, movement, proper workspace, ergonomics, if you're not doing the right things to help recover and move forward in that process, you're only going to be hurting your low back. So, as I mentioned, number 3, activity, motion, movement. That's why number 4 is the proper recovery of your spine. Stretching, proper diet. And that's an important way you can recover from low back pain. But number 5, I talked about 40 hours a week, usually at minimum, at work. What's another thing we spend about 40 hours a week doing? Let's say 8 hours a day. Anyone think of anything?
Yeah, sleeping.
Sleeping, exactly, that's right. Ideally, you should be getting 8 hours of sleep. So again, break it down, 160 hours in a week. You're spending 40 of it at work. That's a quarter of your time. You should be spending 40 hours a week. Actually, no, I'm even wrong on that. What would that be? That would be 56 hours a week sleeping. So more than a quarter of your time. 8 hours a day for 7 days is 56. If you're not sleeping 8 hours, that's okay. 6 to 8 is fine. A little bit more is even okay. But if you're doing it the wrong way, what you're doing is, again, if you're at work spending a quarter of your time hurting your back, you're spending even more than a quarter of your time not sleeping in the right position, you're, again, hurting your back. And sleep is such an important time because it ties into recovery as well. When our body is sleeping, it's such an important time for our body to recover. Again, our nervous system's functioning, we're able to sleep. Our body signals, our signals are being sent throughout our body, through our nervous system, to recover. Even this fluid in our brain is called cerebral spinal fluid. It's filtered out, believe it or not, every night that we go to bed. It's fresh in the morning. And what that does is it helps our body recover, but also think, function, move forward for the next day. And the things that slow that down are 1, improper sleep, 2, stress, improper diet, 3, these kind of slow out that filtration process and kind of mud it up. But if you're sleeping properly, you're doing these things in the right way, you're not in pain, you're able to get a good night's sleep, you're able to have a fresh mind, recover. And this helps, again, long-term down the road. Studies have shown how a proper night's sleep can improve people's health much later in life because of the ability to recover. So I'm going to take a moment to show some different beds and proper ways to sleep, and why that's so important. So if you want to just angle that over here. So we're here at the Smart Appliance store, and you can see that this is a bed. And what it's done is meant to help support your spine and curvature. So what you want to be doing is you want to be sleeping on a comfortable mattress that has solid support for your spine, and you want to be sleeping on your back. That's the number one way, because if you think about it, our body is, again, designed through our spine. Draw a line down the center of our body. What's there? It's our spine. It goes at each side. And so as we rest this way, all the organs can actually rest on our spine rather than falling forward. It protects everything. We're not putting pressure on our ribs, which are weaker bones, believe it or not, than these stronger bones of our back. So our body's designed to sleep on our back. And so one way you can do that is, again, with this proper mattress, sleeping on your back with great support. Another way is, too, if you're going to sleep on your side on a mattress like this, and it's comfortable, so I can get you on to sleep anywhere you want. What you want to do is put a pillow between your legs, because that's going to help support the curvature in your low back and support your hips. Go back over here. It's going to help support the curvature in your hips. Also, sleeping with some proper curvature, a proper pillow here for your neck, what that does, it helps support the curvature throughout your whole spine. So spending 8 hours a night sleeping properly is huge in recovery. If you're sleeping 6 hours a night because that's what your body feels like it needs and that's what it wants and that's what you enjoy, that's totally fine. But what's not fine is when you're experiencing pain and it's keeping you up at night and you're not getting the proper sleep that you need and you're spending it up focused on something else, your body's not filtering out, your body's not recovering positively, and that's going to impact you. So sleeping on a proper mattress is huge in helping to support that proper sleep process. Because if you're shifting around and moving a lot, you're not sleeping. So I went over those pretty briefly. I want to go in depth and a little bit more on a few different points. One, what's going to be happening when you're sleeping, why that's important as well. Besides, I mentioned that cerebral spinal fluid, but it's also that time that curvature needs to be supported. So I mentioned using a pillow between your knees to help support the curvature in your low back if you sleep on your side. If you sleep on your back, again, the ideal way is sleeping with that pillow. One thing you want to avoid is sleeping on your stomach, on your face, turned either way, or with an arm above your head, and why that is. So, just for me, everyone in the crowd, just hold up your arm like this. So, oftentimes people will say they sleep like this with their arm there on a pillow or up above. Try doing that for 8 hours of the day regularly. That's not healthy, right? That's putting a lot of pressure through the joints. And what that does is, again, if that's what you find comfortable, I recommend trying to switch that. The reason being, as you're putting that pressure and stress on those muscles there, keeping them in that tight position, it's going to be putting pressure on your low back. So not only are the organs falling forward, drawing your low back muscles low back muscles forward, but it's also putting pressure on the muscles. So that's why the sleep position is so important, because we can be comfortable in a lot of different ways in getting the good cerebral spinal fluid filtration, but sleeping on your back is so important just for the rest of your muscles. Again, 56 hours a week, ideally, give or take. No, everybody's body's different, but give or take, that's going to be huge in terms of just preventing low back pain. So run down through them all again. Number one, the best way of preventing low back pain is chiropractic treatments through a proper evaluation, which might include x-rays, to see if there's a structural problem with your spine, as well as neurologic and orthopedic exams. And that can tell you if there's a problem there. And if there is, having it treated through adjustments, because chiropractic is the only thing that changes the curvature of your spine to where it needs to be. But then supporting that is proper workspace ergonomics. Again, 40 hours a week, probably at minimum for some. People spend a lot more time at work. It's really important to be supporting those activities to help the structure and curvature of your spine, because you don't want to be spinning your wheels. You don't want to be putting yourself at a bad advantage. Number three is activity, motion, movement, things you find fun. Get out, enjoy activities, enjoy life. If you want to go kayaking, hiking, riding a bike, these are things you should be doing naturally, but why they're so important to help support the curvature of your spine is it's going to be strengthening those muscles and helping your body be in the most healthy way possible too. Again, how the spine works with the nervous system. If you're able to move and be active and work in a proper way while putting the proper curvature there, you're going to put yourself at the greatest likelihood of health, and in turn, preventing low back pain. Before, with that, is proper recovery, done through proper nutrition, stretching. These things are so important, so that way you can actually continue to do the things you want to do and not be exacerbating issues, especially if you, let's say, love playing golf. You're getting your chiropractic adjustments, you have great workspace ergonomics, you go play golf and you go to bed at night, you need to stretch. You need to have a proper diet to help decrease your inflammation, so that way you can recover and continue to do what you want to do every nice day of the summer, or however often you golf. I'm not a big golfer, but I do enjoy a good game. Lastly, like I mentioned, is sleep. 40 hours a week for work at minimum, 56 hours ideally a week for sleep. Put those together at 168 hours in a week. That's 106 hours. Sleep is such an important time to help your spine recover. Doing so on your back with proper curvature, proper mattress support. These things are important, so that way your body can not only recover from the activities you do and support your recovery, but also just because it's such a long period of time that it's so needed for your spine to be in that position, in a healthy position. Otherwise, what you're doing is, again, you're just hurting yourself. If you fall asleep on your back and wake up on your stomach, that's not the end of the world. I don't want anyone to start panicking or burning down their houses or freaking out. But what is important is making that conscious effort, because that's how your body's going to recover best. But yeah, those are 5 ways to prevent low back pain. So that concludes the 5 ways to prevent low back pain. I just want to say thanks to Dave for having me here at Smart Appliances. Dave, want to come back up here? I had a great time. Thank you so much for having me. Absolutely. And yeah, guys, like I mentioned, sleep. They have mattresses here. I mentioned diet's an important factor too. Tons of fridges and grills help you on that need. So, but yeah, thanks, Dave. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Dr. Bassler. And also check out Casey Chiropractic for all chiropractic needs. And Dr. Bassler can help you. And I believe, is there a free consultation that you do?
Yep, we have a free consultation to see if what your problem is can be treated through chiropractic and see if we can help.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much again.
Yeah.
And thank you all for watching.
Yeah, thank you.
Take care.